Well, thank you for coming on the red carpet, Michelle.
Thank you for having me, Ryoji.
You're very welcome. Can you let everyone know a little bit about yourself and what got you into the entertainment industry?
Okay, well, my name is Michelle Metier. I have been in Oklahoma City for about 3.5 years now. I kind of lived in a lot of places. We can get into that in a little bit. So, getting into the entertainment industry, I definitely did not have a traditional path coming into this. Um, I've always known that this was the industry for me as a young kid. I started reading at a very young age in comparison to most. And I always wanted to read in front of other people and act out the scenes of the book in front of my mom or just anyone who would be an audience to me. My mom put me into a lot of different like like modeling things, and I was always one of the leads of our school play. I hosted the news at my elementary school. I was just always wanting to entertain others. And I moved to Germany when I was almost 12, and with language barriers and things of that sort, kind of went down a different path. um, I always knew that my path would eventually lead back into the entertainment industry. I just knew I kind of have to put it on a pause for a moment due to financial struggles. It just wasn't in the cards for me to go to an acting school. In Germany, for the most part, colleges, universities for free.
Hmm.
Education is, but acting school is not. So that just wasn't a path for me. So I actually went down the construction industry, which is so far apart from the entertainment industry. Um, and I definitely struggled throughout every year of uni. But again, I knew this was just something that I had to do. And I went to any kind of open casting call that I could on the side. And that's how I got onto a couple of German TV shows, which was pretty exciting. I got to do a couple of commercials. And then with the internet turning into what it is now, you can find casting calls online. So that opened a few doors. And then my life took me to Nigeria and then back to Germany and then to Louisiana. And now I'm in Oklahoma. So it's been kind of crazy ever since COVID. And I definitely thought moving to Oklahoma, okay, that was it for me. I'm gonna have to put a pause on the entertainment industry for a minute. But the algorithms on Instagram definitely knew how to find me. And I found the OKC Improv Studio, I found OFA Studio, and have been extremely active in both of those since April of 2024. And just this is exactly what I want to do. And it makes me feel like coming to Oklahoma was exactly what needed to happen. So, yeah, I've just been getting back into it since April of last year. So, coming up on a year now. And I spend every free minute that I have in some form of way of acting or improv. And I love it so much. This is exactly where my heart is. It's exactly where my passion is.
Hmm.
And I'm just excited to finally continue this journey because now I'm at a spot in my life where I can. So it's wonderful.
Right. And what have you noticed the challenging aspect of becoming an actress? Because I know you said it's hard to go to acting school in Germany. Some if
Hmm.
you want to go in a little more details about that as
Hmm.
well. And what have you noticed so far? What have you learned being in the entertainment industries, being an actress, as a young actress? Um, and what can you tell other upcoming young actresses who are, especially in Oklahoma or any other states, or especially abroad around the world, who will be tuning into this and saying, I want to do what you're doing, but what are the red flags and what are not the red flags? I know I asked you
Hmm.
two questions
That
there.
was a lot of questions out there. So I'll try and like jumble them together and give you a
Sorry, I
good
know it's a
answer.
lot once I finish saying that.
I know where your head was going, so I'm gonna try and wrap all those up. So feel free to jump in and throw in one of the questions you just
No,
asked
you're
if I'm
okay.
going off base. Um, so in Germany, and I might be completely wrong about this, but this was the perspective that I gained, was to be taken seriously, you kind of had to go down that traditional path because it is very prestige, and they want to know that when you're becoming an actor and actress that you are taking it seriously and you are putting in the time and the work, and you don't think you can just get up in the morning and become an actor, which I agree, it takes a lot of work, like with anything. If I'm um, not dismissing that at all. But if you didn't go down the traditional path and go to a theater school or a musical school or something of the arts of some form, then you kind of can't get in the door, is what it felt like. I remember I was on this one set, and we were four leads on this TV show, on this episode, and the three, I was one of the four, and the other three were all accredited actors who went down the traditional path. And I felt like we were all getting along and everything was great. And then when they asked me what school I went to, and I said I didn't go to any acting schools, and this is just something I work on in my spare time, I could tell there was like like a shift of energy. And I thought that was a little bit of a bummer, but I took it kind of as a compliment that they assumed so, because I guess I was doing a good job. So I don't know, I took it as a compliment,
Hmm.
um, and just try to go on with that. Whereas I feel like here, there's a couple of stars that I had in mind. There was, I'm probably butchering her name. It's Mayim Bialik, I think is her name. I feel like I'm butchering it. Please, apologies to anyone who's listening to this. And it was like, oh, Michelle, it was so bad. She played on The Big Bang Theory. And I remember growing up hearing that she got her doctorate in neuroscience. And now she's this incredible actress. And I was just, or Jared Butler, who went to school for law, knowing that you can become an
Hmm.
incredible, you can be extremely talented and have gone down a different path. So, one thing I think I would love to pass on other people, and it's something I remind myself of all the time, you're not defined by one individual's opinion. If you try to approach an agency and you never hear back from them and you're seeking representation, that doesn't mean that you're not talented. That doesn't mean that you're not good. It just means that they don't see it, which is not, that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. If you try and seek a role and you don't get that role, that doesn't mean that you're not talented. It just means that wasn't the big fit for you. And I'm an extremely spiritual person of my faith, and I always look at everything from a bigger picture. And I think that's what that gives me peace in all of these things, knowing that that is not meant for me at that time. So never give up. Like no obstacle is too big to overcome.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if that famous saying, where there's a will, there's a way. Well, if there's no way, then create your own path and keep
Right.
going. I remember when I was 11, my mom took me to this, and I think it was in Houston, Texas. I might be wrong. Don't quote me on that. I remember there were thousands of children there, and it was like a huge casting call looking for children actors. And I remember getting into the top three of my age group.
Mhm.
And when you made it that far, they invited you and your guardian to come to LA to meet the agency and see if you want to sign on. But at that point, we had already decided that we were going to move to Germany. And it was to kind of escape a violent situation that I was living in at the time. And I remember my mom sitting me down and asking me, "What do you want to do?" And I knew that in my heart, like I wanted to act, but I wanted to flee the violent situation I was in more. So I said, let's move to Germany. And that's what we did. And then moving to Germany, at first I couldn't speak the language. I'm fluent in it now, but I didn't grow up speaking both languages. Um, it was kind of hard to step back into acting with having that language barrier at first. And for the longest time, I remember just thinking, what if? What if
Mhm.
I didn't make that decision? What if I went the other way? And when I would watch a movie that just came out or a TV show and the lead was someone that was about my age or looked kind of like me, I was like, oh, could that have been me? I don't know. And for a long time, that's kind of what I thought, just a what if. And it wasn't until several years ago, so no, actually not that long ago, several years ago. I'm in my early 30s now. Um, it wasn't until then that I realized, again, going back to like my spiritual faith and thinking of things bigger picture, I made the exact decision, the right decision I needed to make at the
Hmm.
time,
Hmm.
because going through lots of therapy and self-help, which I've really been extremely active about over the last 10 and a half years, I've learned that I had so much childhood trauma from that
Hmm.
violent situation I was in, that environment that I needed to heal from. And
Hmm.
if I would have stepped into the acting industry at such a young age without having healed any of those dark areas of my soul, I don't know if I would where I would be today, even if I would still be
Hmm.
today, to be quite honest.
Right.
So it wasn't until I continued going down this journey of life and
Hmm.
healing and understanding, why things happened, I realized that it happened exactly how it needed to happen, because now I'm much more stable and secure with who I am as a person, that when I take on a deeper, a darker, more emotionally complex character, I'm in a good spot to take that on and allow myself to feel those feelings and go into every corner that you would feel to bring that character to life without it destroying Michelle.
Hmm.
And but because I've experienced those things, I can pull from something that I can really relate to.
Right.
And I mean, we're storytellers. That's what acting is. You're a storyteller. And you're basically portraying human experiences. So
Hmm.
without having experienced human things and experiences, how are you going to portray it as authentically as you can?
Right.
Which is why I now can confidently say I'm happy that my path went down a different direction, and I've done
Hmm.
so many things. I've been fortunate enough to travel a lot and move to different countries on different continents, and I'm just so drawn by people. I'm so drawn by
Hmm.
people and trying to understand, why do they think the way they think, and how do they think, and how does their
Right.
culture really shift who they are.
Hmm.
And when I go to a new place, whether I'm moving there or just visiting, I really try to engage with the people and live like they live. And all of that just adds kind of to, like, I don't want to say my portfolio, but like my toolbox of relating to different people. And I feel like I really drifted off of your question.
No,
I'm
no, no,
so
no,
sorry.
no, no. Because I'm so I know the reason it's so intriguing. Everything you're saying, the right wording I'm trying to find. Because you're talking about spiritual healing. Everybody. I'm a believer in God and Jesus, and my personal belief. But everybody somehow finds that spiritual healing, and it's so, to me, I don't know if this wording is right, but intriguing or inspiring for me,
Mhm,
because everybody that goes down a journey or path at some point in our life experiences spiritual and faith. First of all, what happened to you, I do apologize, and
mm,
I feel bad what happened to you, and my heart goes out to you and your family. But spiritually, we all talk about it somehow in our life. It's to me, it's very interesting when you can be in a room with some friends and or your acting friends, and then somehow it's it's not out of the blue, but sometimes it is, and we all talk about our spiritual and our faith and how it guides us and how it helps us, right?
mhm,
Um, but I think a lot of actors and actresses that go to auditions will say the same thing. I didn't get the role, but maybe it wasn't right for me, or maybe it wasn't my time, or or they would say, God told me it's not my moment or my time yet, and
mhm,
so to me, it's like the spiritual is, I want to say, a must to find. Um,
mhm.
I think I don't want to say you must, but most people will find it. It's a must find to find healing, but also I believe it'll guide you, help you
Yeah.
understand. What's going on, if you understand
Mhm.
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I totally understand where you're coming from.
I think I do want to first of all say thank you for your kind words, and I appreciate it. And there was a time where I always felt like, why are these things happening to me? Um, but again, thinking bigger picture and how I play a role in this bigger picture is I think I'm just strong enough that they were able
Hmm.
to happen to me, and it helps. For a long time, so trauma in itself is silencing for
Hmm.
many,
Hmm.
many reasons.
Excuse me.
And for
Hmm.
me, it was kind of the stigma of, those type of families and the shame that kind of came with it. And it what I've noticed through acting and storytelling is that you are giving a voice to some of those things so that others may not feel silenced themselves when they're
Yes.
experiencing it. It's giving others a way to connect with someone and not feel so alone
Hmm.
because when you're experiencing trauma, whatever type it is, it can be extremely isolating and you can feel very lonely. I know I felt alone a lot as a child, like very secluded, just always. And I think just hearing other stories, I can remember so many stories that I've heard, whether it was a public speaker or a movie, where something was said that resonated so deeply with me that made me just feel less alone. And I know that we all have a voice that we can use, and some people may not have it in them to use their voice. But I think the beauty in storytelling is getting to be a voice for others, those that don't have a voice, can't use their voice. And now looking back, I know that those things happen to me because it's going to use me as a tool to help others that are experiencing something similar. So I appreciate your kind words. But again, although I don't wish it on anyone else, I'm not upset anymore that they happened because it helped fuel me even more
Hmm.
to who I am today. Um, and I think that's why I just gravitate so much towards these like deeper, more complex characters because there's so much authenticity in them.
Yes.
There's so much realness, that rawness.
Hmm.
Um, that that's those are the roles that I just always gravitate
Right, right.
towards.
I
Mhm,
want to go back. You're welcome, by the way, but I want to go back to what you're saying. We, as actors and actresses, you're telling
mhm,
stories.
mhm,
That gave me chills. It's the truth,
mhm.
100%. We are
Yeah.
telling our stories to impact people who are watching, all right? To
Mhm.
spread awareness, to let them know you are not alone.
Yeah.
That's the key word. You are not alone.
Yeah.
And you just said it, right? You want to impact people, right? And we want to impact people, but when you, as a self being a storytelling, right? You want to make TV shows and make movies to anybody out there, any family members when they're watching to say, we are not alone. This is our story as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And I believe you as yourself, you're gonna change people,
Mhm.
and everybody has a different story, right? Everybody.
Yeah.
But, for sure, Michelle, you are really gonna change people. You are opening up about it, which I 100% appreciate beyond my bottom of my
Mhm.
heart. I really do.
Thank you.
Because we need this stuff, right? As actors out there and actresses
Mhm.
and directors and producers, we all want to hear this. We want to show this to the world, and let everybody know and say, "Hey, you're not alone. We're helping you. We want to
Yeah.
talk about it. It's nothing to be ashamed to talk about. All right,
I agree.
right, we should talk about
Mhm.
it to friends
Yeah.
and loved ones and anybody that that you're not afraid to talk about. Because it always comes down to when you have a friend or boyfriend or I'm just gonna say girlfriend or whatever, and they say, are you okay? Right? Or they're gonna say, are
Mhm.
you seriously okay? That means you're gonna pause in your life and say, wait, wow. you're really asking me, am I really okay? They
Mhm.
care about you, right? And
Yeah.
that's where you want to be honest, but also they want you to, hey, we're here for you, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's a lot of I appreciate it, Michelle, because I think that gave me chills what you said because you're telling stories, you're telling your story,
Mhm.
and you're spreading awareness, you know.
Mhm.
And a lot of people can think about, well, I can't share my story, right? I know you may have been in your situation where you're like, well, why, as myself, Michelle, going to share my story?
Yeah.
Why, right? But in the bottom of your heart, you're thinking, well, me as Michelle, there could be another Michelle out there that could be
Mhm.
experiencing something, and I want to spread my awareness to let them know they're
Mhm.
not alone. So,
Mhm. Oh,
thank
you
you,
just you
Michelle.
just hit it. You just hit it spot on. It's kind of I'm a firm believer that it just takes one person to really impact you, one mentor to grab your hand and pull you along or to shape you. And I am trying to be the person I wish I had. And there was for sure a very long period of my life where I would disguise everything that I was going through. And when people would ask me questions like, "Why did you move to Germany?" or "Why are you doing this?" or "Where's this person in your life?" I would make up. It was the same story I stuck with every time, and it was kind of like a cover up because I felt too much shame. And it wasn't until that self-healing process started, until I realized, no, I can be authentically who I am and I can answer that authentically because if you're just shifting something in one person to be honest about who they are and make them feel less alone, then it was worth it. And
Hmm.
ever since I've started to be more open about my life, and you start to, someone comes up to you, whether it's the same day or weeks later, and just said, "Hey, there was something you said and it resonated with them and it opened them up and they did this and that afterwards." That's how you know.
Right.
Even if it just touched one person, it was worth it. And
Yes.
that's the beauty in the storytelling. Yes, there are so many
Hmm.
surface level characters in movies that are just there for pure entertainment.
Hmm.
And those are fun to play in. And I'm not opposed to those roles, but the ones that I get very excited about are the ones that go deeper than that.
Hmm. That's 100%.
Hmm. Yeah.
This is amazing. We're touching base, on spiritual healing, and storytelling. Those three
Hmm.
we just talked about. It's amazing, and we're gonna, I say we, but all of us are gonna impact people in this
Yeah.
world. All right, so
Hmm.
100%. A little happier note,
Yeah.
um, as yourself, Michelle. Um, what have you noticed about Oklahoma entertainment industry? What can you tell the world about the state of Oklahoma City, the Oklahoma, and what do you think so far in the entertainment industry as a state of Oklahoma?
Okay. Again, I've only been dabbling in this since April. So speaking from my quote unquote rookie, observation, I want to say to a lot of people, no matter where you're at watching this, keep your eyes on Oklahoma. There is so much incredible talent in Oklahoma. In my classes that I've been taking at least once a week, the talent that is in those rooms blows me away. I never leave a class without having had the chills at least once. Don't sleep on Oklahoma actors is what I want to say. I feel very fortunate to be in Oklahoma right now. I am feeling it's a very up and coming industry. And because it's not oversaturated yet, I feel like there's just enough pieces of the pie for everyone. And you have all the opportunities right now to take things into your own hands and just explore. And there's been one of my coaches, Willa, and a young lady, and that's in my she just moved out of my class, but was in my class since April, McKinley Page. They both inspired me in very different ways to start writing my own stories and taking some of the experiences that I've been through in life and those deeper motives and feelings and putting them onto paper. And those were from people here in Oklahoma. And I know that once I get to a certain point, you can start collaborating with everyone. And that's, I want to say that about Oklahoma. I've lived in a lot of places, but the people in Oklahoma are so kind and so welcoming. And I was a little terrified at first that it would be similar to what I've experienced in Germany about the door always being closed because you're not part of the prestige. I don't feel that way here. I feel like no matter how experienced you are or how, you're this is day one in your journey, I feel like everyone is just so supportive of one another, and it's so easy to build like your community. And feel like I found my community here,
That's
and the
amazing.
support and the encouragement, it's there's enough to go around. So I feel like if you're in Oklahoma and you're interested in stepping into this, you don't necessarily have to go to LA
Hmm.
or New York or Atlanta. You can find that community right here in Oklahoma, which
Right.
is, I'm so happy that life brought me to Oklahoma.
Well, that's amazing. That's amazing. By the way, I'm in Oklahoma as well. Um,
Okay.
the one thing about the entertainment industry in Oklahoma is it's slowly growing,
Mhm.
surprisingly. A lot of
But
people,
it's growing. It's growing. Emphasize on the word
yes,
growing.
I say
Mhm.
slowly, but it's growing, like
It's
right.
growing.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people are shocked that they're hearing Oklahoma a lot, like Oklahoma, Oklahoma, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of actors are coming here. As yourself as an actress, what is your favorite genre?
I love dramas and thrillers. Um, I love it whenever I am done with the movie and my mind is just still going, and I
Hmm.
have to go into all these loopholes and rabbit holes of, not loopholes, rabbit holes of trying to understand everything. And the movies that get me, keep me thinking for days about them, those are the ones I enjoyed the most. I love anything dystopian, which is probably my biggest dream, is to be a part of some type of dystopian film. Um, I love it because it criticizes society today, and there's so much you can learn from that. So that's definitely my favorite genre. I mean, I enjoy a good comedy, of course. I love horror; those are fun. But thriller, drama, something
Hmm.
dystopian, those are definitely my top favorites.
And what is your what's your, I say free, but what's your dream role in your favorite genre?
Okay, this might be very crazy. There's a book called Tender is the Flesh, and it's a dystopian book. Um, I probably am going to butcher the author's name, but it's Augustina Baz. I probably can't pronounce it. From Augustina B. Tender is the Flesh, and it's a dystopian book. And I would love to see that put onto film. I think that movie could have, I mean, the book had such an impact on me. I would love to see that book turn into a film.
Hmm.
Um, Joaquin Phoenix is one of my all-time favorite actors. I am in awe of him, and I think he would be incredible in that movie, and I
Hmm.
would love to play in that movie with him. If you want a very specific answer, that is my very specific dream role. Um, but yeah, I would love to play in something dystopian.
Well, amazing. Do you have any upcoming projects? And if so, can you tell us? And what projects have you done so far?
Okay. Um, I this past weekend had 9 auditions. I have 2 callbacks. So I have a lot of things that are currently in the work. Nothing's been solidified yet. So besides those, I don't have anything in the works, but I mean, they could all potentially go away or they could all happen and then there's a lot going on. So ask me in a couple of weeks again.
Yes, no, it's
um,
okay.
so I feel very blessed. There's just been this wave of opportunity that just came
Mm-hmm.
about. I
Mm-hmm.
actually have an audition I need to film today. Still, so there's this whole wave. So I'm hoping that something comes out of one of those. There's one project in particular that I love the complexity of that character. Um, and it's a lead in a short film. So that's the one I have my fingers crossed for. Some of
Hopefully
the
you get
projects
it.
we'll see if it's meant to, again, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Sometimes, you take a project or you get a project and another project comes along where the shooting dates are the same day and that other one was meant for you. I believe in the bigger picture. So if it's meant to be for me, I believe in the project and I want the project to come to life in the best way it can. And there just might be someone else that can bring it to life. I don't want to say better, but I guess better than I could have.
Mm-hmm.
So I that gives me peace. That gives me peace in
Right.
it. And knowing that you left a good impression on the casting director was always a good thing because there will always be another project that might come along where they think of you, whether it's in a year or in 4 years or next month. You never know. Um, so projects that I've worked on, I looking back, I'm really excited. I'm really thankful that I got to work on a couple of German TV sets. Those gave me experience of what it's like to be on an actual TV production where, you get flown in, you have your driver, they put you up, you had
Mm-hmm.
go through, um, you know, uh, blanking on the English word where you go through your mask and costume and blocking and rehearsals. And I had on two of the projects, I'm not sure what the role is called in English, but where someone helps you get there emotionally
Mm-hmm.
before you go on. And those are all really incredible experiences that I got to have. So I'm very thankful for those. Um, Probably the coolest project that I got that I ended up not being able to do was to be on the European Nintendo Switch campaign. Growing up being like a little gamer, my heart skipped a beat. I auditioned for that. There were so many rounds, and I was in um, I was in the favorites category the first go round. Then I didn't get it. Then they reached back out a couple of days later asking me to re-audition, and I had a flight booked to the States. So I pushed the flight back in the hopes that I would get it, and then I didn't get it. Then I flew to the States, and as I was at the airport in Amsterdam waiting for my connecting flight, the second hurricane that was coming towards Louisiana was announced. So when I landed, it was hurricane prep and then evacuation. And I didn't have internet for a few days. So when I got my internet back, I saw an email. They wanted me to audition again. And I looked so dodgy. I hadn't showered in 3 days because we didn't have running water. The house was a mess because stuff was everywhere. And I took a big teddy bear and I just shot one take. It was such a bad tape, but I sent it in because I was like, I mean, they've seen enough of me to know, you know, this isn't their only impression of me. It's okay. And I got it. And I was so, so excited. Like all that hard work, it had paid off. And I was willing to go back to Houston and fly out the next day, but that was during COVID. And you have to quarantine after an international flight for 2 weeks. And because of that, I couldn't take it because they were shooting 4 days later and I would have still been in quarantine. So that was
Oh
probably the
no.
coolest project that I ever got that ended up not being able to do. So I still count that as a win.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the director kept coming back wanting to see me, and that I, at the end of the day, did get the opportunity. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, I couldn't do it, but I still see that as a really big win. So that was really exciting. Um, and yeah, I did a couple of commercials that were fun. Um, just I love working with different sets. You meet a variety of characters, which is always exciting.
Oh
But yeah,
wow. Amazing. Amazing. And so sorry you didn't get that role.
I do not again, it wasn't meant to be then.
Right.
But the fact that I did get it at first, well, at first 3 rounds into it, uh, I still see it as a win. And I feel like in this in the world of entertainment, what I've learned very early on, you gotta take any win you can get, whether it is just getting the opportunity to audition, that is huge. Like, see that as a win. If you get a call back, it doesn't matter how many rounds you go through, whether you get the project or not, it's a win. It is a win. And those wins are gonna get you through because you're not gonna get every
Right.
role that you submit to or submit for. You're not. That's just the reality. So you have to be okay with rejection. You have to be okay with that, um, and know that it doesn't take away from your value.
Right. 100%. That's the truth.
Yeah.
What can you tell everybody that what you do for fun when you're not auditioning or you're not doing anything, any um, roles?
I'm kind of a jack of all trades. Like I like to do a lot of different things. I I've built this structure for myself because with that structure, that's how I know I can make it to the next step in my life. So for anyone listening, if you feel that you're in this journey, in this race of life, that you're not starting at the starting line where everyone else is, you're a little further behind. That doesn't mean you can't catch up. You just have to put in the extra work. You have to be willing to make sacrifices, and that's just part of it, but you can get there, but that is in your own hands. So I love to work out. I love going to the gym. I love lifting weights. It's something I've been doing for 17 years now, and I love just tuning out and just being my own little world. I started boxing when I lived in Nigeria a couple of years ago, and I fell in love with that. So I enjoy boxing to this day. I found a great coach here in Oklahoma. I also, in addition, take boxing classes, um, which is very different than one on one, but is still very fun. So I enjoy that. I love to travel. That's probably any chance I can get to travel, I'm traveling. And I want to encourage anyone to travel as much as you can to kind of broaden your
Hmm.
perspective and horizon of people and what life is like elsewhere. And I promise you, you can only grow from it. And I hear a lot from people. They say I don't have the money to travel, and I used to be that. I mean, I didn't come from money at all. I've been working since I was 12 years old so that I could eat and wear warm clothes. And um, I've always had multiple jobs since I was 12. And I told myself I'm not going to let that keep me from traveling. So I found ways to low budget travel. Um, it's not for everyone, but if your mission is to see the world, then you can do it on a low budget by sleeping in your car, things like that. I have a lot of incredible low budget traveling trips for anyone if you're interested. So I travel a lot. I love being in nature. That's where I ground myself. That's where I feel
Hmm.
most at peace. So I am out in nature any chance I can get. I'm very looking forward to some of my upcoming trips that I have over the next couple of months. And again, you don't need money to travel. You just need to get creative, is what I like to say. Um, I love I love to cook. It's just another creative outlet for me. Um, just I think this is important to know about me. I am vegan. In March, it'll be 5 years. I was pretty much pescatarian for about 6 years ish
Hmm.
before that. It's been a long journey, on this path. But I do care about animal rights and um, just giving them a voice since they don't have a voice. So I spend a lot of time just staying up to date on things there and what I can do there in that area because you get a lot of pushback from other people. For some reason, people hate vegans, which I don't understand because we really just want all people to be treated fairly.
Right.
Because it, anyway, I try to stay up to date on my facts there so that um, you're just prepared for any argument someone may throw at you. So I do spend a lot of time diving into that. I I love watching movies, and when I watch movies, I like overanalyze them is what I feel like I do. I like to read. I still like to play video games. I play a lot of video games. Um, I like to write. I like poetry. I love writing poetry. And again, through Willow McKinley Page, I've started to start writing scripts. I'm still very early on in those, but just writing those stories.
Mhm.
If opportunities don't come my way, I will create opportunities for films. So I've been working on that. I'm extremely community involved. I'm involved with a lot of nonprofit organizations here in Oklahoma. I recently graduated from Leadership Oklahoma City in May of 2024, and I'm currently on their board and my class representative, and a lot of other nonprofits I'm engaged with. And I just, all of those, all of these things help you grow as a person,
Mhm.
and giving back and helping others be the best that they can be. That's just what gives me that's just what makes me feel like I am living a better life, and it just makes me happy. So I'm always busy is what it feels like. I'm involved with OKC Improv. Love that place. I would also recommend to anyone, if you have the time, try it out. It can only benefit you no matter what you do in life.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I do a lot. I'm noticing now I do a lot, but it again, I'm used to creating my own opportunities and just
Right.
being out there chasing things, and I'm just so interested in so many things, and all of these things can teach you something
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
yourself
Now you
and
say
make
nonprofit. Pardon me, nonprofit. What nonprofits are those?
So there's ULI, for example. ULI is the Urban Land Institute. It's an international nonprofit, and I'm involved with the Oklahoma chapter. And basically, it's for all things development
Mhm.
within a city, and it encompasses anything from people just interested in city planning to actual construction to development to real estate. You name it, it's all kind of buckled in, and which I think is such an important thing because city planning, urban development, it shapes a city, and it is long lasting and impactful. And Oklahoma City is in a really good spot right now that it's our state's capital. It's growing so quickly. And right now, by making really thoughtful decisions about what you put where will impact the city long term.
Mhm.
So I'm blanking on the word I'm trying to use, but just being intentional about it. And this is an organization that really highlights impactful projects
Mhm.
and that are intentional of where they're at. And I think that affects all of us here in Oklahoma, especially as we grow in the film industry and in other industries, knowing that we're in such a good, not many cities have this opportunity because they're so densely built already, but not Oklahoma City. If you look out your window, you'll see it. So I think that's really, so I'm very involved with ULI. That's probably the nonprofit I'm involved with the most. Leadership OKC, supporting others, building that community, that
Mhm.
network. And through that, I started to get involved with Palomar, with the animal advocacy program. Um, the list goes on and on. There's
Wow.
Crew OKC. Trying to think. I know I'm blanking on one more. Um, I also volunteered to help pick up animals in other cities and drive them to them home to a new home somewhere else so that they don't have to get euthanized.
Wow, you're
Um,
involved in a lot.
I do a lot, but it's very fulfilling. It's very
Right.
fulfilling.
Mhm.
And I really enjoy that. I enjoy spending time at home with my partner, with my cat who's been sitting sitting here watching us the whole time. Yeah, I love people. I love
That's
people
great.
and building
Same
people
here. Hmm.
and growing people, and that's kind of how I found, excitement in the construction world that I'm in, which is, again, so polar opposite of the entertainment industry, and um it's very challenging and
Right.
very male dominated,
Hmm.
and but knowing that you're shaping people's lives and developing their environment is what keeps me going in that, which all kind of plays, it all plays a role with one another.
Right.
So,
100%.
sorry, that was
Um,
long-winded again. I'm very long-winded. I apologize.
no, no. I'm learning so much from you, and everything you're telling is so impacting, spiritual healing, storytelling, and Oklahoma acting, everything that the audience would love to hear. And
Mhm.
you're telling so much, and it's going to impact a lot of people out there for
Mhm.
sure.
I
Um,
appreciate you saying that. Tomorrow, I get to go speak at UCO as a speaker and um, kind of tell my story there, and that's an amazing
that's
opportunity. And
amazing.
I get to moderate a panel for ULI on Wednesday, and I love public speaking. I love connecting people, and it all is kind of the same thing. It's storytelling and building people and
Right.
growing people, and that's just a big passion of mine.
Well, I believe you're gonna impact a lot of people, especially
Thank
with
you.
your story, your personal story, and that's how it goes from you're telling your stories, like I mentioned about, you're going to be a speaker, and I believe that it was meant for you. You're telling your stories, you're also impacting someone out there who may be listening to you and saying, this is what's happening to me. And that's number one. They're going to be grateful
Mhm.
for you, whoever's going to be listening
Thank
to
you.
it. Like you said, it doesn't matter if you impact one or two people or five or six, right? You're going to impact people. So, who is a person that really impacted you in your lifetime so far?
Famous or non-famous?
We can do both.
That's a heavy question. Um, I'll start off with famous because I feel like that's easier. I know I've already mentioned his name, but Joaquin Phoenix, um, he is he is so incredible in my opinion in so many aspects. Just his art and the depth of his characters and the risks he takes when choosing characters and um I've I remember the first movie I remember watching with him was The Gladiator that came out, and that blew me away. I believe that's who he was because he played it so well. And every film that he's made since then, even until the Joker that he played in 2019, which in my opinion was an incredible
Yes,
performance
I
he did.
agree.
I watched that movie so many times. He made me he made me feel for him so much that I understood why he is the way he is. It was
Hmm.
such an incredible performance. But not just that, but on a personal level, how he uses his reach and his voice um, to highlight those who don't have a voice. He's an animals advocate. Um, he's he's given me hope a lot that when you make it that far in life in on this journey like he has, it comes with a responsibility. There's a
Hmm.
lot of eyes watching you. There's a lot of young people who look up to you. And obviously you can live your life however you want, but I do think it comes with a responsibility, especially for young minds who are looking up to you to carry yourself with dignity and to to make to live your life and supporting others, because that's what people are going to learn from you. And I know that that's something I aspire to be and am trying to be right now. And I love that he's using his voice for the greater good. So he's impacted me. Um,
Amazing.
in in my personal life, there's so many people, and it could have been someone who I only knew for a day, and it could have, that I just met randomly. Could have been someone. There's so many people come to mind, and it was always these people who I'll give you a couple. Can I give you an example or two? Okay. For example, just they're little short stories, but I remember when I was in elementary school, The Lord of the Rings came out, and um, my class, I was in this gifted class, so we
Hmm.
were a very small group, and they went to go see Lord of the Rings in the movie theaters, and that wasn't something that my family could afford for me to attend. And I often couldn't go on field trips because it just wasn't in our budget. And it was one of those things because my teacher knew how much I love movies and entertainment and things like that. She paid for my ticket. And I remember getting off the bus there and she handed me $5 so I could also buy popcorn. And something so small, that act of kindness really like that at such a young age showed me how one person can change your whole day. Like really, it can change everything. So big shout out to her and what she did for me. Um, when I was in the third grade, my mom, because of one of her many jobs, would drop me off at school so early. There was one teacher, and she wasn't even mine. She would get to school extra early just so that I would have someone there to watch over me. And just her doing that every day, just showing up meant so much. Then moving to Germany when I was almost 12, I was in the 6th grade. And Germany, the school system is very different. It's kind of like tiered. There's different schools depending on where you're at, um, just where you're at in learning. And my brother and I were both placed in what you would translate to the real school, and it ends after the 9th grade. And there's always continuing education after that. Anyway, um, we moved in March, so there was only a few months left of school before the new year. And at the end of the year, our teachers sat down and decided if we belong in the school or have to go down a level. And my brother's teachers made him go down to a different school, to a lower tier school. And I stayed, and I knew that I was an intelligent child because I did come from that gifted class.
Hmm.
But I didn't understand how I made it and he didn't, when we both knew German about the same at that point. And it wasn't until I graduated, sorry, that school went to the 10th grade. It wasn't until I graduated from the 10th grade. I had the same German teacher every year, which was weird because normally teachers don't move with you from grade to grade. But my German teacher moved with me 7th to 8th to 9th to 10th. And I hated him because I wasn't great in German. And it was my worst class, it was my worst subject. He gave me such a hard time. And it wasn't until my very last day when he told me, my very last day at that school, he said that during that meeting in the 6th grade, all of my teachers said I don't belong here because I can't speak the language, but he fought for me and he said he's going to move grade to grade to grade to support me because he believes in me. When he told, I like, my eyes are getting teary now. Like that made me cry. That one man changed everything because of that. I was eligible to go to the A level school, which would bring you to college. And if he would have changed his mind, who knows what that would have done with me mentally. So that was that one person that believed in me. And then I wanted to go to the A level school. I didn't get into any school. I didn't get into anyone, not one school. And I knew I'm going to an A level school because I want to have the highest degree so I can go to university. So it was Thursday. The Monday is when school starts. I went to the one school that I knew it's the most difficult school. There's not a high graduation rate. I knew a lot of people aren't going to the school. So, like, this is where I'm going to have the best chances because it's so difficult here. I rang the doorbell. Schools in Germany are very different. Rang the doorbell, waited till someone opened up. A secretary opened up, and I said, I need to talk to the principal. And she was like, oh, you can't, like, school's not open in session yet. I'm like, I need to talk to him. So I sat down with him and I told him, I said, I promise you, if you give me a chance, I will not disappoint you. I will not. And he was like, well, our slots are full. I was like, I'm not leaving today without you giving me a spot. Like, you have to. Please give me a spot. I will be here on Monday. I won't let you down. And he gave me a chance after a lot of talking and convincing. He gave me a chance. And I was valedictorian that first year, the second year, and then in the 13th grade, I brought our graduation to our school that we hadn't had a graduation celebration in over 5 years. But I took it upon myself. I was like, I didn't go through all of this to not have a celebration. So I created it basically and took things onto my own self. Like, I signed the papers for the big hall that I rented. So if I didn't come up with that money, I would be paying for it out of pocket. I didn't have that money. So I hosted events, did all kinds of stuff to raise money. And it was all because, again, all of these stories are just like one person believing in you.
Mhm.
And although these are all people who I don't have contact to in my life anymore, I do want to give shout out to my mom. I'm not going to get off this call without giving a shout out to my mom. Um, no matter how challenging things have been, she's always been there for me.
That's amazing. All the people that,
Stories. So I can't. It's hard to answer with just one person because so many people have played a big role in my life. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't always for that one person. And that's kind of tying into what I said earlier was it only takes one person to change your whole
Mhm.
life. So try and be that person for others as often as you can because it does
Right.
make a difference.
That's true. Amazing. Powerful story. Thank you for sharing. You're right. It does take all the one person to change this story or to change someone's life, and that's 100% true. Thank you for sharing that. You have said a lot.
I know.
You
I'm
know,
so sorry. I'm so
no,
sorry.
no, it's the truth because everything you said was so impactful. Your story life, your story background, and everything you've discussed is it's a life lesson learning as well as
Yeah.
to help the future generations of their storytelling of what they've been through,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So that's what I want to
Hmm.
say. So my last question for you can let the audience know, what is your big motivation quote or message you want to tell the upcoming young generations who are following the path into the entertainment industry?
One big quote. Um, no obstacle is too big to overcome. Um, don't ever let one individual's opinion define you ever. If you're not wanted in that room, then go into another room. There is a lot of rooms. Um, and try and do at least one good deed a day, is what I'd like to say. I am a firm believer the more you put out there, the more that will come back. And it might not look the same, but it's all going to come back to you eventually. So try and do at least one good deed a day.
Wow,
Mhm.
that's very true. Thank you for sharing that. Where can people find you on social media?
So I am probably out of all the social media platforms, I'm most active on the Instagram. My name is Michelle Metier. Metier spelled Mestayer, not a conventional spelling for that pronunciation. I'm also on, I don't really use Facebook, but I'm on Facebook. Um, I have an IMDb and I have a link tree that I will, after this, put onto my Instagram page so you can find me all the other things. But Instagram is probably the easiest way to find me and stay connected.
Okay, well, everyone please follow Michelle. And
Thank
Michelle,
you.
thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. And I do want to give just a little shout out also to Daryl, also for this opportunity who wasn't with us today. Um, this was a great conversation, and hopefully this will happen again, and Daryl can join us. That would be
Yes, I would
lovely.
love
Um,
to have him on. Definitely, we're gonna have you back.
thank you.
I've
Thank you.
definitely have learned a lot from you,
I
and
appreciate it. Mhm.
you have done a lot of mentioning, healing, storytelling, you know, um, it's spiritual,
Mhm.
Oklahoma acting. leadership in Oklahoma. But the top three is like the healing, the spiritual,
Yeah.
and the storytelling
Mhm.
is the one that really impacted me because you like I said again don't have to tell your own story. What happened
Mhm.
to you, and it takes courage. You talked about that courage and
Mhm.
faith and passion to talk about your story. And it really does take courage to tell your story. And so that's really meaningful for me that you're what you're doing. And I know you're going to impact a lot of young ladies and gentlemen out there who may have a similar story and you're going to change their life. So,
Well, thank you so much. Those are very kind words and very uplifting. So thank you very much. I like to take a moment to give a shout out to my mom who's listening from overseas. She's
yeah, where is
she's
your
going to be
mom, by the
listening from
way?
overseas. She's in Germany. She's in
Oh,
Germany.
she's still in Germany.
Listening from overseas, and also to my partner who's not here today. He's traveling for work, but also thank you for him for all of the hours he spent practicing lines with me. I don't know what I would have done. I would do without him. He's been my rock. So thank you to him too.
So is your
And
mom
thank
gonna
you for
come
your
back to the States or she's staying in Germany?
Oh, she's staying in Germany. I don't think she'll come back here, but I'm gonna go see her in April. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, that's amazing. Well, thank you for coming on, and
Thank you.
I
Thank you
can't
for
wait
having
to
me.
have you back. We'll
Can't wait
definitely
to be
stay in
back.
touch.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You take care and I'll speak to you soon.
All right, I'll talk to you soon. All
Thank
right,
you. Bye.
bye.